Welcome to Projects Invest. This is Al and Cal here. So today we're going to be talking about the frenzy GME events that's been happening in the past couple of days. But yesterday was quite an exception. So what happened yesterday?
First thing we're going to talk about is that the brokers banned buying GM. So some was a complete ban, some of it was just banning options, some of it was just limiting for you to only have the ability to sell. Which kind of changes the whole dynamic of the game. And I think a lot of people were caught off guard, especially us, right? We were caught off guard.
Yeah, I mean, look, there's a bunch of brokers who, sort of went down yesterday, so you can't really buy, you can't really sell anything. But, there's two specific brokers I think we should mention, and that's, Robinhood and IBKR. Both of these brokers, they didn't allow the purchase of GME, but you're allowed to sell. So, that's kind of fishy right there. I think something weird's going on. I mean, for myself, I tried to buy yesterday. Luckily, I set a limit order a couple hours before the market opened, and I managed to get filled. But I think you had a different experience to share.
Yeah, so I was thinking of getting in on it as well, but I wanted to wait until the market opened. But by the time the market opened, I went and tried to execute my trade. I found out that it says this trade cannot be executed, right? Which caught me off guard. And at that point, I realized when I was reading online on all the forums, is like you can only sell, right? So if you can only sell, that puts a lot of downward pressure on the stock, right? So that kind of caught me off guard. And at that point, I was worried. I was like, should I sell? But I kept reading the forums and diamond hands. And I held on, and I think this is just unfair, right? Changing the game in the middle is completely unfair to retail, whereas the hedge funds, I think at that point could still buy and sell freely.
Yeah, I think emotional is the right word, because I got in, and then shortly after they said, look, you can't buy anymore. And how did I feel when I bought earlier and now you can't buy, so that means the stock can't go up?
Yeah,
what's going on, right?
And the stock price started to tank, and
yeah,
like that.
You sell or what, right?
Yeah,
that
messes you up emotionally.
Yeah, so definitely something fishy is going on, and just investors like me and you, like we don't like it, right?
Yeah.
Anyways, let's move on to the next part. So up next, we're gonna talk about the two brokers CEOs' comments. They had an interview basically. We'll start with the CEO of Robinhood, Vlad Tenev.
Was not made on the direction of any market maker or other market participants.
So why'd you do it?
Decision. Robinhood, as a brokerage, has lots of financial requirements, SEC requirements. We have to put up money at clearinghouses. The amount of money that we have to put up depends on market volatility, and we're in a historic situation.
Them owns a piece of you. And they had a big short position. And that looks like a stinky conflict that you didn't come out straight on from the start. Address that.
Well, none of that had anything to do with our decision to do this. Again, this was just looking at regulatory requirements, financial requirements.
I saw you on another channel. They were saying, so is it a liquidity issue? So Robinhood didn't have the money to control the flow. And you said, no, it's not the issue. We don't have a liquidity issue. Well, if you don't have a liquidity issue, but you say you're stopping the trading because you couldn't meet certain capital requirements, how does that reconcile with itself?
Well, we feel pretty good about the situation, and we did this preemptively, right? We were looking at the deposit requirements, we were looking at the operational requirements, so we did this proactively, and we feel good.
Yeah, so throughout the video, he's not admitting like he's doing something fishy, but he's just repeating himself over and over again, saying, "Look, it's not that we're trying to protect anyone or something like that. We're just trying to comply to regulations, and we're trying to comply with this and with the brokers and all that." So he sort of avoids answering Como's questions. What do you think?
Yeah, so just to give you a little bit of background, so that was Chris Como. He's the brother of Andrew Como, who's the governor of New York. So he brings up, basically, Como's kind of got him in a pinch, as you can tell, because he's using his own argument against him, because earlier he said, it's not a liquidity issue, but then afterwards he says because they need to meet certain requirements from the regulators, which is essentially saying it's a liquidity issue. So it's kind of counterintuitive. Basically, he doesn't really have a point, and you can basically see that at this point, Como has him kind of cornered. So it was a really bad look for, I think, Robinhood CEO at this point.
So do you think it's a liquidity issue or what? I think it's a bit of both.
I actually think it could be a liquidity issue.
Yeah. Okay. So it's probably like he probably did face liquidity issues, and he probably did do something fishy as well.
Yeah.
And he's sort of like mixing in both together.
I think it's just it just worked out perfectly for him. So a little bit was probably a liquidity issue, a little bit of pressure from up top. So these are just alleged. We're just guessing here. We're not saying this has actually happened. So I think that those are the two reasons why he decided to make this decision of limiting the ability to buy on his platform, which is Robinhood. So
either way, he definitely messed up.
Yeah, because if you look at Google Play Store, right, their app I think it was 4 stars or 5 stars, and it dropped down to 1 star. So obviously, a lot of customers were very unhappy, and a lot of people are considering moving out to other platforms, such as SoFi. Like SoFi is a potential replacement.
That's for another video.
Yeah, that's for another video.
Okay. So next up is the CEO of IBKR. Here he is.
Are you doing this move to protect yourself or to protect your customers?
Partly to protect ourselves, but mostly to protect, of course, to protect our customers, but most of all to protect the marketplace, to protect the clearinghouse. So if there are $10 to $15 billion of losses in there, somebody has to pay them. Will they be able to pay it? Is the big question.
Look, I think this guy is ridiculous, man. Look, he's like, how old is he? Like 80?
I don't know, but
he's reading off a script. He's not even.
Yeah, so we have experience because obviously we're running a YouTube channel, so we know the experience of what it looks like when you're reading off a script, or if you're actually talking genuinely from using your brain and talking in real time. So as we can tell from this video, he's definitely looking at a pre-written script from, I guess, from one of their lawyers or one of their compliance teams. I don't know who it is, but for sure he is the first part of this video. He's reading from a script.
Yeah, and he said when the guy asked him like what happened, he's like, oh, we definitely tried to protect ourselves, right? He said that accidentally, right? Yeah. And then he said, oh wait, never mind, and to protect our customers as well. Right, so this, oh my goodness.
I mean, at least he's being honest. I think we can give him credit for at least being honest, that he's trying to protect himself. I guess that's basically ties back to his brokerage and all the parties that are involved in this whole thing.
Yeah. So I mean, if we combine the two CEOs' comments together, I think we can conclude that look, there might really be an issue on the back end, but at the same time, something fishy is definitely happening, and it doesn't favor the retail traders.
Yeah. And I think another point I want to make is, these guys are supposed to be professionals, right? They always look down on retail, and when retails make mistakes, that's retail. But I think in this case, the professionals made a mistake.
Yeah.
I think they overplayed their hand.
Yeah.
I think that's the thing that happened here.
Yeah. Okay. So on to the next is we're going to talk about potential lawsuit happening.
Yeah, so the lawsuit is a bit touchy subject, because we know from in the past, a lot of times these platforms, they have pretty much bulletproof terms and conditions, and a lot of times most users never read it. Like I never read it. Like every time I go through it, I just basically click and say agree and then move on. So I think from that point of view, these lawsuits, I don't know how effective they will be in terms of actually getting any results, but it definitely puts media attention towards this issue, and hopefully more people join on and make it into a bigger thing, and hopefully we see some changes in regulation or even in these platforms. But from just looking from Robinhood point of view, I think they're okay, because I'm pretty sure that the terms and conditions are written in a way that it kind of alleviates them from any, I guess, prosecution. This is the best way I can put it.
All right, next up, let's look at some of the Twitter comments. So the first one we saw was from Dave Portnoy.
Yeah, so Dave Portnoy was pretty vocal about this yesterday. He was basically just firing off tweets left and right. So he had a battle with Steve Cohen. So I think Steve Cohen is the founder of Point72 Asset Management. So they're part of the duo between Citadel and Point72 that kind of helped backstop Melvin Capital by injecting, I think it was 2.75 billion into the fund. So Yeah, so they're going back and forth, and at one point, Steve Cohen wanted to take the conversation offline, where Portney said, "No, like I want this out in the public. I want to make sure that everyone sees this." And I think that's kind of the way it should be. You know, everything should be out in broad daylight. You know, none of this behind the back door stuff kind of thing. I think that's just unfair. I like, in some ways, it kind of pretenses this whole idea of, you know, everything is out in the open, kind of like what ARK does. I think that's where, from my personal opinion, I think that's where everything should be heading towards, so that we can let society and I guess the community kind of self-police itself. No need for, in that case, less pressure for regulators to, you know, to keep an eye on things. So that's my opinion.
I think they took this tweet back and forth a couple of times, right? I remember one of them being Steve Cohen said, "Let's take this tweet offline," and then Dave Portnoy said, "No, offline is where all the shady stuff happens," right? So props to him. Let's talk about Elon's tweet, right? So Elon came out, I think it was 2 days ago, right? People were asking for him. People on Reddit were asking for him, right? So Elon, and then he finally tweeted something simple. What did he tweet? Something like GameStop, just one word, right? And everyone starts buying.
So it was really smart because he didn't actually use the word GameStop, right? So you can't really penalize him because he just used GameStop, which is totally different. It could be anything.
Yeah. So I mean, like yesterday he tweeted something really interesting. He said, "You can't sell houses you don't own. You can't sell cars you don't own, but you can sell stocks you don't own. This is BS. Shorting is a scam." So obviously, you know, he doesn't like shorting. He hated it when people shorted his stock back in the day. So no, just something like this from him means a lot to you know, the current situation, right?
Yeah. I think we're not against shorting. Like, don't get us wrong. Like we want a free market, but I think shorting to the point where you short more than 100%, I think that should probably not be allowed, right? I think that's a little bit too much, and that's in some ways a bit like, it's a bit dirty. Like sometimes, some businesses rely on their share price, you know, to raise capital to, you know, continue business, and to have these hedge funds all pile in and, you know, double up, triple up, more than the shares that are available, really crushes business that should still be functioning or should allow to continue to still run because they do have a viable model, like GameStop.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's why people like, you know, influencing people like Elon, right, comes out, steps in, because, you know, I think even he thinks, look, people have crossed the line way too far, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So, you know, other than Elon, there's Chamath, right? Chamath is
our boy Chamath.
He's one of my personal favorites. But you know, him, right? He went on CNBC the other day, and he just, you know, who did he have an interview with?
I can't remember his name, but he basically ripped into him.
Yeah, he ripped. Yeah, that was crazy. that was an amazing video. But I mean, right here he says, "I remember when I met Robinhood app founders when they were raising their seed, Series A and Series B. I passed. Why? Optimize for integrity whenever possible, because integrity compounds and assholes you." Yeah, I mean that tweet says it all, right? You know, this guy's always been with the retail investors. So yeah, I mean, props to him.
I mean, not necessarily the retail investors. I think he just believes in the whole, you know, social justice. Because you think about it, his capital, his fund is called social capital. Mm-hmm. So he believes, you know, in not just enriching the wealthy and the elite. He wants to, you know, make sure that society actually grows. So a lot of his projects are kind of behind that foundation. And in this case, he's definitely backing the retail because he believes the retail was right. He wants to give credit to the retail, especially, you know, I can't say the name on YouTube because I don't want to get demonetized, but Deep FV Value. So you know who I'm talking about on Reddit. So I think what he's doing is great, you know, putting more attention on this, and I think he's picked the right side in this battle.
Right. All right, let's move on to the next topic. So, you know, at the end of the day, after all this happened, I think there was a potential Senate hearing that's going to come up soon, right?
Yeah, so a lot of the people in politics, you know, chimed in. You have AOC. You even have basically saying that this is unfair and there should be a Senate hearing on this, and so Congress should be doing something about this. And I think a lot of people are really excited about that. You know, for once, someone's taking care of the retail customers, you know, the moms and pops, I guess, in this case, and even us. Hopefully we get taken care of and looked after.
I feel like this topic is like, it's gone too crazy for the Senate to ignore, right?
Yeah.
It's so big that if they don't step in now to say something, they'll be at fault if they don't do something.
Yeah, to a certain extent. So just to give you an idea, I mean, a lot of times there's a divide in Congress, but we're seeing that in general, most people are siding with retail, and in some instances with Wallstreetbets and saying, hey, look, this is wrong. We're going to do something about it. And I think we're really happy to see that.
All right, to wrap things up, let's take a look at the price action in the last couple of days. So yesterday, it looked as if the price was going to break 500, right? It looked bullish, crazily bullish. And because of what happened with the brokers stopping the retail traders from buying, it tanked all the way down to the $100, but it closed quite well. It closed really strong, back up to 350. So, the bears couldn't really take out the bulls. Hopefully by today, trading resumes. Today's an important day because all the option contracts expire. As for our position,
I think there's actually, before we get into our position, I think there's a lot of pent up demand, especially considering yesterday, a lot of people want to buy. So I think once the floodgates open, I think there's going to be a huge spike in price. And I think at this point, it's become personal. I think a lot of people are trading not just on the basis of trying to make a profit, but trading on principles, right? That this is the right thing to do. From our standpoint, we currently do hold GME, and we're long on that position. In terms of if we're going to put any more money into it, I think we will. Just another small position, just because we feel it's the right thing to do, and we feel like in the long run, this is a good play for us.
The thing is, like, with all this drama going on, right? Do you think this can potentially be the catalyst for potential crash, right? Because if you think about it, in 2008, right?
Yeah.
It was more or less like well, it's not the same, but I guess the end result was the same, right? Somebody defaulted on their position,
Yep.
right, and caused everything to
Yep.
tumble.
Yep.
The more you look at this, it feels like, wait a second, right? Is that a possibility, right? Someone shorting 140% of the available shares, right? How much money is that? Like, you can't even count.
Yeah.
Right? Is that a possibility?
So I think there is, like, if retail continues to short squeeze without an extra strategy, because theoretically, if you're in a short position, you have unlimited losses. So at some point, if the short squeeze continues on for an extremely long time, it's going to affect the broader market. So at that point, I think there is a systematic risk from that point of view, that if this short squeeze keeps going on forever, that it's going to affect the entire market. So then we're gonna have a situation where some institutions may have to liquidate, and that could be a catalyst for entire market crash. So from that point of view, I think retail shouldn't be too greedy. I mean, obviously, we're doing this in response to what the hedge funds have done, but at some point we still gotta be reasonable in terms of what we expect out of this.
Yeah, I mean, on the other hand, right? If you look at it from a good side, right, this can potentially be one of the great wealth transfer catalysts, right?
Yeah,
you're seeing
yeah.
Right. You're seeing people post on Reddit, right? They're making millions of dollars, right? This is all potentially from the hedge funds, right? If this was to play out perfectly well for retail investors, right? Melvin Capital or Citadel, whoever's shorting GME, their wealth would essentially transfer to at least a big part of it would transfer to retail investors, which is the good side of all this, right?
Yeah, it's good for society as a whole.
Yeah.
I think, and I guess it'll help them understand, like, pay a little more attention to what retail is up to, and not to take these risky bets that they're making. From our point of view, we're always going to be diamond hands always. So we're holding this to the end, and we're going to see what happens.
Yeah, cool. All right.
See you guys in the next one.